10% of that is $800. What did I do? All I did was did the invoicing for him.
So that's $800 for the company, not the
exactly.
Okay.
$800. Out of that $800, you probably take away $275 to $300 went towards your insurance. You made $500. But what did I do for that $500? But what did he do?
Working.
Right? So I always thought about quantity. What if I had 5 more of those? Right? What if I had 5 more of those owner operators that were doing anywhere from 5 to 7,000 a week? So you say 7,000 a week for 5 drivers. Take home for me could have been anywhere, what, $2,500 or something like that? And I didn't do anything. I didn't dispatch them. They dispatched themselves. What to do is just make sure, that they were in compliance with their logs, and they're on time, and that's it. So, like, if you were leased onto my company, I have no involvement in your day-to-day operation. One thing I would ask, that whatever you negotiate with that broker, if he tells you you need to be there at 9, you need to be there at 8. Right? On-time performances, that has to be key, and your route planning. Meaning, just because this broker was paying so amount of, whatever the rate was, you can't get to this point with the legal clock, right? So as long as you don't go, overstep. Meaning, that has happened before. A driver booked the load to Texas. This freight was supposed to have been taken with a team, but he took it. So it's things like that, and that's why I keep close borders where my trucks can and cannot go. And I'm letting you know right now, you can make money in a good market. You can make money in the Midwest and still be able to see your family and friends often. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good way for me managing. Those are my pay packages, and the reason I chose it like that because, I'm small. I can't charge the same amount that a big time company is charging, and they're offering plates and stuff like that. So I have to make it a way where it's more money in that driver's pocket. Versus I'm not doing anything. That driver woke up on that Monday morning. That driver called in, spoke with a broker. I didn't do anything. All I got was a rate con. Sent her back to that driver. Made sure the driver understood his assignments from that rate con, and from there, after a couple weeks, they got, he knows what he's doing, So that's the reason why I set my pay scale at the percentages like that. The more money that driver earns, the more money he should be taking home. All of a sudden, I can start seeing the market, and I study the market. I just don't go on the load board looking at rates. I follow a platform that has the analytics of different regions, basically where the freight is. Whether it's refrigerated, dry van, flatbed. So I was following the analytics, and I just thought, wait, all of a sudden, there was a big flow of freight starting to move. So I guess containers were starting to come into the United States, and these DC warehouses were, starting to pump freight out. I had a driver come off the road one day, and I basically motivated him to go get his CDL. When he came out of CDL school, he was driving coast to coast from Ontario, California to Savannah, Georgia. I'll never forget. And he came home back to Chicago for some medical reasons. Go see a doctor or whatever. And just in a conversation, because I'm never in anybody's pocket, I'm like, man, how's things going? How much are they paying you over there? At this time, I'm never thinking about getting a second truck. Once he told me what that company was paying, and had a contract, well-known contract, hauling, from coast to coast. So I looked at it like, man, that company owner was taking advantage, and he was team driving too. Think about it, Ontario, California, all the way to Savannah, Georgia. That I felt, me knowing how much drivers should be getting paid, 65 cents, 70 cents, 75 cents a mile. Once he told me how much he was getting paid, I said, dude, I can pay you that. And it was just, I just blurted it out.
So it wasn't no intentional thing.
It wasn't even intentional, man. It was not even intentional.
So what made him want to take, okay, well, how'd you present yourself to him to make him be confident enough to jump ship?
What I just said, I just blurted it out. Like, bro, I could pay you that. I could have you home every other day. Instead of being going weeks at a time. He was doing a lot of his 34-hour resets in Atlanta. He said his team driver was out of Atlanta. The team driver was married. So they would do his resets in Atlanta. And that driver had friends down in Atlanta, so it kind of worked out. And I said, dude, I could have you home every other day. I know I can have you home Saturday and Sundays. And when I said this, I was saying that because I'm running. And at that time, I started traveling, spending the night in the trucks. I was finding local runs within the Chicagoland area, maybe a 200-mile radius. Pick up, go deliver the same day, and I'd be home that night. So I knew what the market was paying at the time, and I knew what I could provide for that driver. So that conversation happened like around the second week of June. By July, that driver was still here. Like I said, he came back to Chicago to get some medical things taken care of. And I brought the conversation up. I said, hey, the conversation we had, I was serious. Because the time that I spoke that out to him, I was just thinking, what if I do this? What if I do this? You know what? Let me get the prices of trucks at that time. I said, man, I really don't want a truck though. This truck right here, and remember, the market was messed up. A lot of people folded during the pandemic. This is a 2006 Volvo with a V12 engine, but it was well maintained internally as far as the mechanics of it. I mean, it's got $9,500 cash. I put maybe no more than $3,000 into it because I wanted to get it up. This was actually going to be my truck because I was going to give my driver, the driver I was hiring, I was going to give him the newer truck that was automatic. I said, hey, if I'm going to be out here, I want to make sure I'm safe. So I put maybe no more than $3,000 in it to get it road ready. Although it was road ready, it was things that I wanted to do. Once I built up that confidence, man, and I was serious. I thought about it for over 4 or 5 weeks. And I brought it back up to him. And I said, hey, try it out. Worst thing happens is you go back to your old company. And man, we did it, man. We hit the ground running.
I see you started out with your own fleet and you got to drive, these not all your trucks, so some of your trucks is on the road right now, right? Right. Yep. So how do you get from doing your own thing with these trucks right here to getting the smiley face trucks, as I call them?
You know what? So we're in the same year, 2020, I was talking about. I started that driver off doing dry van loads. And if people remember, there used to be a time where if you wanted to haul for like a JB Hunt, Target, these big corporations or whatever, you have to have a minimum of maybe 5 trucks. Well, that was the same way with Amazon. When I early on tried to sign up with Amazon in 2019, you have to have a minimum of 5 trucks showing on your DOT, on your FMCA report or whatever. So all of a sudden, I just remember looking in my email inbox and they were offering, they were asking for insurance information. Because obviously, like I said, I tried to sign up before. So obviously my information was already on their platform. And I had to get some general liability insurances, which is when people see, man, you need a $2 million policy, they get scared. Like, oh man, I can't afford that. It's a fractional cost. $2 million general liability policy is usually around, depending on how long you've been a carrier or whatever, maybe like $600 for the whole year. It's very minimum. It's a policy that you'll rarely ever even have to use. It's just something that they require. Got that email, and I didn't, I asked my agent, hey, how much does this policy cost? or whatnot. I ran into an over-the-road driver that was hauling for Amazon, and although he was a company driver for that contractor, he just told me the ins and outs, everything that was involved in his like daily routes and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, I get another email basically saying, "Hey, welcome, blah blah blah. Here's the load board," and I get on there and I just start looking and navigating how to basically navigate their load board, just like a DAT board. Just how do I use this? How do I get my loads? And from there, I put that driver on a couple of the shipments. Actually, take that back. I ran a week worth of shipments for Amazon first before I even gave it to that driver. I want to see how much money it was paying, how much fuel I was going to be costing, and what is a daily shift like. And I ran it for 1 week, 5 days straight. And I did that. I said, man, it reminds me of being a company driver. So it was like a daily routine I was doing, right? Same starting time, getting off around the same time. So then gave that to the first driver.
Now, when you gave it to the driver, because I know you got Amazon trucks we'll get to in a minute, but then you have your other trucks here.
So at that time, I was running Amazon with my own tractors.
Was you pulling their trailers?
I was pulling Amazon's trailers with
Okay.
my tractors at that time. So that was summer of 2020, around September-ish. Around that same time, that first two months is just me and that other driver. I was still running loads. I wasn't doing Amazon. I was doing more dry van freight. When I found my third driver, bought my third truck around December of 2020. Along that same time, I had an owner-operator approach me. He said, "Hey, are you leasing on any owner-operators?" And I said, "You know what? Yeah, because at that time, that owner-operator was trustworthy. At that time, that owner-operator, he booked his own loads. I had nothing to do with the negotiating, whatever he negotiated, and he ran under my DOT number."
Now that's a question. I had a live stream, right? And while you said that, guys, check out the live where a brother actually asked a question. I said, man, you can own operators run up on your authority, run up on your DOT number. He asked, well, how do I pay him? How do it go through your company? I told him, funnel through your company. So how could you?
All right, so through my company, an owner-operator, basically first things first, I run his MBR, make sure he does have a clean driver record. Also do a verification check, see how much experience he has. Secondly, make sure his truck can pass a thorough DOT inspection. Now, my DOT inspections don't go to Sideshow Bob mechanic shops. I'm gonna tell them, hey, go to a dealership, the TA or the petrol. Reason being is I know they're not just gonna bring you in, get you out. They're gonna try to find something wrong with your truck. Meaning, I feel safe now. Because whatever you do, even if it's in your own truck, that's under my DOT number, which affects my insurance, which affects my business. So that's the process. As far as the payment, I did at that time 18%. 18% covered all your insurance, covered your IFTA, covered your ELD. So at that time, whatever a driver negotiated with a broker, of course, all the invoices came to my email, came to my company, and the driver would get paid out 18%. So that driver, basically, he didn't have to cover anything. He didn't have to pay any weekly insurance. He covered his own. Only thing owner-operator does is provide his own plates. After that, I cover his IFTA, I cover his ELD, and just using my company name. Then I decided, because that owner-operator, he didn't come to me. I just saw this guy he worked harder than me and the other driver put together. And he stayed legal, meaning he wasn't overbooking loads, he wasn't messing with his clock, his logs, whatever. This guy was hustling so hard that I said, hey, you know what? It doesn't pay the most for companies, the 18%, because you got to think about it. You do have to pay insurance. but I was renting him one of my trailers at the time too, right? So I looked at it and said, man, this dude's a hard worker. I never expected an owner-operator to be with me more than 6 months to a year. Maybe they just make enough to build themselves up where they can start their own DOT. So I told him, I said, hey, anything you do over 5,000 is 15%. Anything you do over 6,000 is 12%. Anything you did over 7,000 a week, gross, it was 10%.
That's a nugget, guys. Hope you guys pick that up. This comes from a brother who actually who have owner operators, who have his own drivers. You guys asked about how the pay packages work. He just gave you a nugget right there. So there you go.
And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. If you have some solid, trustworthy owner operators, I just don't hire anybody. You gotta be able to speak well, because when you're calling these brokers, because you have your own access to the DOT dashboard, of course they have to call me to get my permission to allow you to have that access. You're basically representing Alexjr Transport.
Over here, I see that a driver had an accident over here.
Correct.
All right, let's check it out real quick. So now, like, when you have accidents, man, like, well, of course you know it's not a good feeling.
Oh, man.
But how do you handle it as a business owner when you get that call, man? Your vehicle crashed into some stuff, man.
Let me tell you something, man. First things first. Whenever you get that call,
and it's the vehicle,
is gonna go a long way. You make sure the first thing you tell that driver, you ask that driver, are you okay? That goes a long way. For one, it helps your blood pressure go down.
Right.
If he tells you, hey, no, I'm okay. Good. Is anybody else hurt? You ask, right? So for me, I'm concerned about his well-being, seeing if there's anybody else hurt, you know, being concerned about their well-being as well. Hey, is the truck drivable? Are you in a safe location? Meaning, if it was a wreck, you know, if you're in the middle of the highway, you know, that's one thing. You want to make sure, I want to make sure my truck is somewhere safe, so we don't get into another accident, right?
Right.
Pile up, so to speak. I don't ask right away what happened. We have the cameras or whatnot. My thing is to accidents. If you've ever been in a car accident or truck accidents, man, it's your adrenaline is rushing. So your job as an owner, I would say, and drivers too, man, just breathe. All right, let's take the necessary steps. Call out an officer. If that other person's vehicle needs to be towed, maybe, you know, let the officers know, hey, possibly going to need a wrecker or something like that, and try to get that driver back somewhere safe, right?
Okay.
Go over everything once that driver's back to your facility. As far as, hey, you'll have some paperwork for him to fill out a accident report and kind of go over what happened.
So now you don't only have these trucks up here, but I see, because all your trucks is not here, right?
Correct.
And you have some, it's getting to look kind of dark. I don't know if you guys can see them, but there's some more back here. And somebody left a light on it.
I'm still working on that.
Are you working on that one?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
these are going out at night. These are
night trucks right here?
The trucks that's out here, they go out overnight. Yep.
Okay, so the daytime guys, he's still out right now?
They're still out right now.
Okay, so these are the nighttime trucks right here. And I see, like, how do you retain drivers? Because I see that you got 15 pieces of equipment and you got all these trucks running and you're still hiring. How do you retain these drivers?
You know, I'm gonna say this. One of the very first things we talked about is my character. I try to displace me first. This company sells himself. That company right there with the logo, the smiley face, that sells itself. My job is to sell Alexjr Transport and who I am, what I represent as a person and as a company. It's a lot of competition out here. It doesn't matter if I was doubling the pay. I could be paying $54 an hour, right? But as a person's not going to want to stay somewhere where they're, you know, just a number, no one cares about them, blah, blah, blah. They have unsafe equipment, right? So company employees, sometimes they have to feel like, hey man, they can call and get help. that just because they might have had a brain fart where they forgot an address, they forgot something like that, they're not going to be supported. I build a team that I make sure we don't talk at drivers, we talk with drivers. Bonuses, trying to incentivize them, right? Letting them know that, I'm here for them. I'm just not a president or a CEO of a company that, I'm just here to get paid and I don't care about your well-being, and I feel, and coming from big corporations, that's how you feel, right? Smaller companies, I feel, have a bigger advantage and can tap in to the driver's market because you can become personal. You can see your drivers every other day. Come out to the yard, while they're doing a pre-trip, talk with them, ask them how their weekend was going, make it sort of like it's not a cliche or whatever. Don't make it seem like it's kind of like a family. I know we hear that all the time, but drivers appreciate that. Drivers appreciate that, sometimes I appreciate a driver asking me how was my weekend. That's rare that you get that, but for them to even ask or even care, and if I can display that on them and not even talk about work. How was your weekend? How was your kids? How's your son or daughter doing in sports? Cheerleading or whatever, right? Showing that I'm concerned. That I think that's a good way of retaining the drivers. As long as that pay is there and you got some good equipment, man, you can keep you some good drivers. You can definitely keep you some good drivers.
So exactly how many dispatchers and managers do you have?
Dispatcher, let me see. My dispatchers run 24/7, 7 days a week. It's a staff of 5. So you got to think, now they actually, because I kind of outsourced my dispatching company, but it's 5 dispatchers. But, I talk to all 5 of them, plus the owner of the company, so it's almost like we all work together anyway, right? So in a fleet size like this, let's just say I didn't hire that company, I would probably need 4. Because dispatchers need days off, right? Dispatchers need days off. And that's what I mean about making that investment early on in order to grow. You don't want to grow and not have enough manpower to run the company. So you have to make that investment early. I think that's something I probably learned on YouTube, to be honest. Like, make that investment early and then it'll pay out over time, right? Now, if you make that investment early and you're not growing at a pace that you need to be going, well, then you kind of start downsizing when it comes to your back office or whatever. But make that investment early. I have a driver trainer that drives, but he also, at nighttime, he's in communication with the drivers. That means any fresh new driver hired on, he's the go-to person. That's his job. He gets paid, as well as driving, to answer those phone calls when those drivers are having, little problem, even if it's a technical problem or situations at distribution centers, he can walk them through it, Also, HR or general manager, when you get to this size, like I said early on, you're not going to be able to run this company by yourself. You need to start bringing in people. Once you start to see that, hey, you know what? I'm on my way to almost 20 trucks, 30 trucks. I need to bring in somebody just as smart as I am or smarter to get you to a comfortable level where that company is not just ran by yourself, because, man, you will get burnt out. You will get burnt out. If you're young, man, I'm in the stage of grinding, as they call it. Having vacation, I don't know how long, but that's making that investment early. So at some point, that this company will be able to run while I can take a week vacation somewhere, right? It's making those early investments now, when possibly next year, I'm en route to getting that way, or whatever. So possibly next year, hey, I can start taking a vacation here, a trip here or whatnot, and the company is still being ran. A lot of us in business, and I'm not just you know, in terms of trucking, you know, we start making the money, we lose sight because, you know, we want to go, we basically want to take trips. You know, people that are taking trips, you know, those are 9 to 5 or salary employees, so they get vacation time, right? We have to make our own vacation time, but we have to do it in a smart way where can my business still function while I'm on vacation, right? Salary company employees, hey, you know, somebody else is running that company. You're just an employee of that company, and that's not to talk down on any salary or company employee. I'm saying that to say, as far as business owners, in trucking or any business, make your investment first in your company. Grind it out until you find that level of support staff, as far as a general manager, operations manager, that your company can run while you sleep, and also while maybe you're on vacation or whatnot, you know.
Man, this has been an awesome thing tonight. The nighttime called us, but my man still stayed out here and hung it out. He roughed it out. Anyway, guys, so man, this is awesome, man. We definitely got to get him back on in the Lord willing in the future. I can't end on a better note than that, man. So anyway, all right, YouTube. Hope this video was helpful. Give you a little understanding what's going on here. I thank you again for showing up again, brother.
Man, thanks for having me, man. It's
no
been
problem.
To be on your platform.
No problem. See you guys next video. Peace.